Live from the local station, this is a Weather Authority alert.
Right now, people are waking up to another blustery day. You can see the line of storms moving through right now on exact track radar. The system causing major damage overnight, bringing down trees and creating dangerous conditions on the water.
It is why we are issuing a Weather Authority alert day. The winds and rains will be causing problems most of the day.
Waves are crashing along the beaches and the pier in Jacksonville. The water will rise with high tide expected in just a few hours. And in St. Augustine, crews are working to get a boat free that was blown into the bridge of Lyons earlier this morning. Both meteorologists Danielle Giuliano and Richard Nunn are here to take us through the day. We start with Richard, though, and the problems this northeaster is creating. Good morning.
Good morning. I mean, what is that? The third boat now? So we had a 76-footer, a 36-footer, and now another boat that is broken free. And, you know, we showed you the video out of Fernandina at the Marina restaurant there with a tattered and torn Old Glory that's been blowing in the wind overnight. And some of the folks there, and speaking of Fernandina and out near Amelia, Boat Charlie, if you wake up with us during the morning show, he's often there with Snapjack sending in his report with almost 50-mile-an-hour winds. It was 47.7 and continued winds here in the 40s. So, yeah, definitely windy, blustery, however you want to break it down, and wet. But here's the good news. This is our local radar, and as we look, I'm sorry, the national composite. So this is a blend of all of our radars. But as we look south or west of Perry into Tallahassee and southward here into the Gulf of Mexico, folks, there is going to be an end to what will be all of this wet weather. It's just going to take some time. We're already starting to see some influence here as the drier air tries to surge into our area for today. The wind continues. Beachside still going to be the brunt here and picking up some of the strongest of the consistent double-digit winds. The tides are going to break down like this. We got Vic Micolucci out and about, and some of the rest of the crews here will be monitoring what could be the highest of our tides yet. We saw pretty significant yesterday, but even more coming through for both Jax Beach and areas of St. Augustine. And this takes us into almost 10 o'clock, about 20 minutes shy. And just before the lunch hour, we'll start watching areas around the main street, San Marcos, St. Nick, and the surrounding areas that could also see some of that inundation coming in, not from all of the rainfall here. This is going to be the backed up river that hits times of high tide. As far as the rainfall, the models have done a fantastic job. And one of the things that we were skirting yesterday is evident here from Daytona northward. Daytona, Volusia County picked up a significant amount of rainfall here along the beaches. And then with that system, and it was helped here by the offshore flow, which has added some confusion for some folks. I got a number of emails saying if it's a nor'easter, why are the winds northwest? It's because of the low pressure area and the mechanism that will feel sharply here today. But either way, it was that little bit of an offshore push that actually helped to hold some of the heavier stuff just off of the Flagler and St. John's coastline. I mean, we're talking going from 1 to 2 inches to 3 to 4, even 5 to 6 as you get into those orange colors. So picking up here, we'll start around parts of Alachua County, in excess of 2 inches of rain already within the last 24 hours. In and around Palatka, as you get into areas of Putnam County, we're starting to see the numbers going up. I was actually showing you this dry slot that snuck down all the way around Georgetown and to Willaca. That's starting to shrink now as we had that little bit of a, almost like a frontal squall that pushed through and is now over the open water. So I'm sure that these numbers will continue to trickle upward. With the numbers that we had yesterday between 2 and as much as 4 to 5 inches, all of that mapped out with most of us receiving it in a long enough duration or a slow enough duration that we didn't end up with a lot of standing water on the roadways, Danielle, but with that surge coming in later today, we could see, and we will see, a lot of standing water along the rivers, the tributaries, and of course the beaches.
Oh, 100%, Richard. And that's because this nor'easter that's making this way through has a lot of moist air associated with it. You can see that with the colors of white and green in that area of warm front that's making its way north here. But notice right behind the area of low pressure, this is our nor'easter, and behind it is dry air, and that's going to be making its way in later on this evening into tomorrow as well. So live exact track 4D radar, like we mentioned, we had that dry slot. It's closing in. Those showers are moving towards the coast, and that's when we're going to see those rainfall totals jump to around 1 inch to 2 inches as we head through today. So areas like Brunswick, Georgia, along I-95 to Woodbine, down to Kingsland, Fernandina Beach, you're still seeing that rainfall make its way through. Also by Homeland, Folkston, Waycross, Blackshear, everyone across southeast Georgia. The heaviest of rainfall, though, is continuing to push offshore. And if we follow that a little further south into the Jacksonville area, Duval County, so downtown Jacksonville, seeing the rain start to let up just a little bit as that heavy rainfall continues to track off to the east. So areas like Sandalwood, South Side area, over by Atlantic Boulevard, Beach Boulevard, this is going to continue to track off to the east as we head through this morning. Areas like Atlantic Beach, Jacksonville Beach, Neptune Beach, within the next 10 to 15 minutes, that rain is going to be right on your doorstep. So it might not be raining right now, but it will in the next 15 minutes. Also heavy rainfall down into Clay County, Fruit Cove, Switzerland area, calling that further down into Green Coast Springs across Highway 17, all the way down to Palatka. Like Richard just mentioned, that dry slot starting to fill in with rainfall because they're seeing some very heavy rainfall across 17 to 07, heading towards Hastings, and then eventually heading towards Palm Coast as we head through this morning. So areas like Elkton within the next 15 minutes, Fort Payton within the next 30 minutes to see this heavy rainfall push on through. What I also want to look at are these winds. Now, these winds are just a little bit above the surface there, and they're around anywhere from 30 to 50 miles per hour. We could see some wind gusts above the surface in Clay and Putnam County, anywhere from 50 to 55 miles per hour. So we are seeing some very, very strong winds make their way through, and that's exactly why we have our wind advisory in place all the way from Brunswick, Georgia, along coastline, all the way out to Highway 17, and all the way down to Flagler County as we make our way through this morning. And that's going to continue to be the case. We're going to be watching for that tidal flooding. Richard just went through the tides, and he's going to take you through step by step who's seeing high tide and when, because that's when we're expecting those moderate to major flooding concerns with the king tide as we head through this weekend. And of course, those beach gusts anywhere from 45 to 50 miles per hour and some beach erosion associated with that. So I'm going to take you through the rest of what we can expect for today and continue to update you, and also take a look at the rest of your weekend coming up in just a few minutes.
Right now, the wind is causing major problems in downtown St. Augustine, blowing another boat into the Bridge of Lions. News4JAX reporter Aaron Farrar is live. Aaron, deputies say the boat was empty.
That's what they believe, especially when we first got here when all of this was happening. We're reporting from inside Storm Track 4 right now for a couple of reasons. One, because of how strong the winds are right now. It's just not a really safe situation for us right now to be outside. Also, more first responders have showed up, so we don't want to disrupt what they're doing to try to get that boat back anchored. We want to show you what it looks like right now as more first responders have gotten to this point, and even where we are on this side of the bridge, they've actually closed down this side to head over back toward downtown as they're working to get that boat back anchored. I want to show you a video of what this looked like about half an hour ago when this first happened. Again, you see that sailboat pinned up against the Bridge of Lions, several first responders both onshore and then getting onto that boat to try to make sure it was secure, make sure nobody was on it, and then start the process of pulling it back to shore to anchor it and to examine it to make sure there wasn't any damage or any significant damage, I should say. But again, the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office believes that no one was on that boat, so that's actually good news. But this is something that they've been dealing with over the last 24 to 48 hours. Even yesterday morning around this time, we saw that there was another boat that ended up being pinned up against the bridge, ended up getting caught under the bridge, and then made its way on the other side. 2 people were on board that, or I should say 2 adults, and then 1 child, as well as 2 pets. They were all on that boat. First responders dealing with 4 different calls before this morning. So this marks the 5th one in this time period. Thankfully, no one was on that boat. At this point, though, there is still a large first responders presence as they're trying to get that boat secure. So that's what they're working on right now. It's been this way for the last half an hour to 45 minutes at this point. This is pretty much what we've been seeing. There is another sailboat pinned up against the retention wall on the other side of the bridge. There were also police officers monitoring that because that happened late last night, and there was some concern that it would break loose even from there. But right now, that has not been the case. It still remains pinned up against the retention wall, but that they still have eyes on that to make sure it stays that way. We'll continue to monitor conditions around this area throughout the rest of the morning. Reporting live in St. Augustine, I'm Aaron Farrar, Channel 4, the local station.
Thank you so much, Aaron. And the strong winds are also causing problems at the beaches in Duval County. Take a look at the damage storms left behind at the Beach Bowl. News4JAX reporter Vic Michelucci is out in Jacksonville Beach right now. And Vic, the pier is getting hit hard with wind, rain, and waves.
Yeah, at 6 o'clock, I was telling you we didn't really have a lot of rain. Well, guess what? It decided to show up, and